this isn't super exciting stuff, but you need to know it, okay? So, property tax, guys, is an ongoing cost. Land transfer tax is a one-time thing, and you're like, oh, I paid my taxes, I'm good now, right? Nope. Property taxes comes along every year you're paying for it, okay? It has oh, you can't see the highlight because I have it on a filter. Hold on. Video filter, normal. Okay, there. Education and municipal, make sure you write this down. Guys, back there, 60. You're on 60, right? Sean, you're on page 60? Property taxes are calculated based on 45% of the value of the entire property, your building and your lot. Okay? What remains is referred to as the portioned assessment. Okay? So, this is the value of your property is 100%, right? They come along and 45% is about half, so it's about this much. 45% of your property is what they call portioned assessment. So they only tax you on 45% of the value of your property, not on the entire property, okay? So portioned assessment is value of property times 0.45. This is the first formula that you have to add in your study sheet under property taxes. Okay? I will make a note here. Only use if 45% is mentioned. Okay? So if it doesn't mention that, you don't worry about it. Hi there.
What are we not worrying about?
Property taxes.
Okay, good.
Actually, we have to worry about it, but on the exam, only if it mentions 45% do we have to do this part right here. Okay? Couple thousand, right? Every year.
More than that. We won't get into that.
We won't get into that, yeah, I know. Do you need someone?
I just wanted to touch base with you.
Okay. Right, keep going. What makes up your property taxes? Education. Sometimes there are two education taxes. Education 1 and 2. I don't know why, not in the city of Winnipeg, but if you live further outside the city, maybe in the countryside, sometimes they have two different education taxes, but it still goes towards education, okay? Grab a different color. There's something called the mill rate, okay? Education taxes are also calculated using the portion assessment, and there's this something called a mill rate, okay? The mill rate for education taxes is not the same as the municipal taxes, okay? Next, municipal taxes. Municipal taxes. These taxes support the municipalities. Municipality is a city, town, or district with a degree of self-governance, okay? Municipal taxes are usually consisting of the general municipal tax, which everybody in that jurisdiction pays, and something called local improvement taxes. Okay? Then, here's the portion for local improvement taxes. I'm going to use a different color for that one yet altogether, because the way we calculate it is slightly different. Local improvement taxes, they're based on cost of the improvements and your frontage. Okay, so there's a cost of the improvement and it depends on the width of your property. Okay, for the purpose of this course, the frontage is taken to be the width of the front of your property. Okay? Each local improvement is going to be calculated as follows. Local improvement, so the frontage times the cost of the improvement per foot of property. Okay? Can I ask you to grab your pink chart real quick? If you go flip through it until you get to this part right here. This is outdated. This changes every year. Every year the city revises this, but this is from the city of Winnipeg, okay? Sean, let's put that away now. Okay, so we've got, boulevard constructions, concrete sidewalks, everything has a price to be paid. So something that you're gonna see quite often is concrete sidewalks. It's $7.86 per foot, right? Per frontage foot that you would pay. Water mains, which happens all the time, when water starts bursting out of the ground and they have to dig it up to fix it. So water mains repairs cost you $11.54 per foot of your frontage. Most properties are about 40 to 50 feet wide, so just multiply that by 40 or 50, and then you know how much you're gonna pay every year. It usually takes a couple of years until they pay that off. So when they're redoing a street, like they did Mountain a couple of years ago, right? Mountain, they redid that. Everybody living in that neighborhood is paying for it for the next couple of years. So it's nice, but you're paying for it, okay? You're paying extra. So this is where we're gonna take our costs from, okay? So you just gotta find it, find the cost, take it to your property tax calculation, okay? Let's keep going. Here's an actual bill. It's usually nice and colorful, but this is the actual bill that you get every year. The city sends it to you at around May. Right about now, we will be getting one soon, okay? So you will see that. You will see this line, net school taxes, okay? They do a bunch of calculations there. Do you notice this, the tax credit? There's like a discount that you get sometimes. That's kind of cool. And then look at this one. There's your municipal taxes. There's your street renewal. There's a whole bunch of improvements being made. But then you look at the net municipal taxes. They add these two together to give you your grand total for that year, okay? I'm trying to think. I made a mistake on this date down here. So property taxes are not due September 30th. It is June 30th. But I'm not 100% sure right now. So just cross out September. It is, I believe it's June 30th, but I will tell you when we get there, okay? Pay close attention to this because we're going to calculate this. There are two big strands that property is made up of. School taxes, municipal taxes. School taxes is usually pretty straightforward. Municipal taxes may have some local improvements at play as well. So we need to make sure we account for them. Then we add up those two chunks and we get our total. If there's a discount, we will take out the discount before we find our total. So here on page 62, it's a little overwhelming, but I will give you a shorter version of it on your study sheet. Not today, but at some point. Basically what you need to do is this. This is what property taxes amounts to. Okay? You may have to figure out the portion assessment of your property. Guys, right here, only if the portion assessed value is not provided. Okay? I will say this, only if question mentions 45%. Got it, guys? Write this down. If the question mentions 45% on the exam or one of my questions, please do this step. It's guaranteed. You're going to have to multiply the value of the house times 0.45. Guaranteed. And highlight this part, okay? Once you figure it out, so they either give it to you, the number, or you have to calculate it. We use that, we use the portioned assessment, and we multiply it by a mill rate divided by 1,000. Then we take the portion assessment again, we multiply it by a mill rate divided by 1,000 to get the municipal taxes. Okay? So once you have the portion assessment, you usually need it twice. And then there's the frontage times the improvement rate to get the local improvements. To get your total net property tax, we take the education tax. This is, let's go 1 here. This is 1, 2, 3, okay? So we take these 3 components and we add them up and make sure, I'm going to highlight this part, that if the question mentions that you're getting a credit, why in the world would you get a credit? Why would the city give you a credit? You might ask. Because what they collect this year is based on what they might need next year. So if next year comes by and they didn't end up using everything they've collected, they have the obligation to pay it back to you, okay? So, which happens quite often where they use less than what they collected, which is kind of nice. Please take away the credit if there is one, okay? If you're still awake while I'm talking, every time you see a mill rate, guys, you're going to divide by 1,000. Mill rate actually stands for per thousand, okay? Mill rate stands for 1,000. So don't divide by 100. That's a very common mistake. Divide by 1,000. And I will say it one more time down here. There's like a little note here. Forgetting to divide the mill rate by 1,000 is a very common mistake. You ready for the actual example now? Can I say one more thing here? Listen carefully to this part. If the question says, for the following property, education taxes are calculated to be 2,450. Like they flat out give you that number. Please don't do any mill rate mumbo jumbo, like don't do that, okay? They are already giving you this. No need to calculate it. So sometimes students think this has to happen every single time. It actually does. In reality, this does happen every time, but sometimes the province just flat out gives you one of these. No need to calculate them, okay? All right, let's do one. Let's go to 63. When you go to 63, I'm going to ask you to do this here. I'm going to ask you to add C here. C is already there, so you change this one and then make that last one that used to be question C, turn that into question D. Okay. Okay, I'm going back up. Go ahead. Okay, so the Adebio family owns a home with a portioned assessed value. Portion assessed value of $138,250. Guys, what is this? This is 45% of total. Okay? That is already that part. To make it very obvious to you, because property taxes is not something that, right? The 45%, that is that value there. So it's already done. We don't need to do anything else. How else would you know? The question never mentions 45%. So please don't do that first step of the big table I gave you. Watch this. The municipal rate, I'm going to use two different colors here. The municipal mill rate is that many mills. Don't let that scare you. That's normal. Whenever you see mills, it means divided by 1,000. Okay? And then there's the education mill rate. The education mill rate of 15.462 mills. The property has a frontage of 60 feet. So it's 60 feet wide. The families charged a local improvement tax for road oiling and lane lighting. And this one, I'm just going to underline. I'm going to use a red pen for this one. The family gets a credit of $750 at the end. Subtract at the end. Okay? We're going to do that at the very end. So a lot of information given. Let's go ahead and calculate this. Determine the education taxes. Ed tax is portioned assessment times mill rate divided by 1,000. That's literally what you're going to do. Our portion assessment is 138,250. Make sure the 1,000 is there. We're going to multiply it by the education mill rate is 15.462. Go ahead. So we'll figure that out. So you just go 15.462 divided by 1,000. We multiply that by 138,250. And there it is. 2,137.62 cents. This is what you're going to pay just for the education portion of your property tax. Oh, let's highlight that, right? I used pink for that here, so I'm just going to highlight that. Next, the municipal taxes. Municipal is portioned assessment times mill rate divided by 1,000. So that would be 138,250. We already determined that that's the portion assessment. You multiply that by 11.415 over 1,000. Oh, sorry, let's do the 11.415 divided by 1,000 first. You multiply that by 138,250, and there we go. So it's 1578.12. And that is your municipal tax. So just to make sure you understand, this number can sometimes just be given to you. Like they'll just say the education taxes are as follows. But they might ask you to calculate the municipal tax, right? So then you just go ahead and this is already known. This is something you calculate. Next, the improvement costs. We have, we have road oiling. And we have lane lighting. What do we do when it's road oiling and lane lighting? When it's improvement, we use the 60 feet, right? We use the width of our property and we multiply it by the rate, like how much it costs to replace that or to perform that service. So let's go and look up road oiling in our pink sheet and lane lighting. So road oiling is $8. I'll put that down. And lane lighting is $1.80. Okay. I'm going to let you know that this is from the pink sheet, right? Go ahead. So let's figure that out. 60 times 8 is 480. Yikes, right? You're going to pay $480 extra. 60 times 1.8 is 108. So let's figure out our total improvement cost. So we add this up. So this would be $588 if you add these two up. Okay. And now it's time for the net property taxes. Like how much would you pay in total at the end of the day? Here we go. This would be total. We go 2137.62 plus 1578.12. This is A. This is B. This is C. And don't forget, we're getting a credit, thank goodness. We're going to celebrate this one, right? $750 that you get to save. This is your credit. And that's just your total there. So in total, this is $3,553.74 would be your net property taxes for this particular property. There's something called a TIP program, TIPP. I enrolled with that right away with my bank, and every month you pay property tax. It just comes off your checking account. If you wait till the end of the year, you're gonna have this huge bill that you have to pay all in one shot. You have to pay it anyways. If you don't pay it for 3 years, I think they can take your house. They can like literally take it. So you don't have a choice. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to try 64 and 65. I'll give you the answers here. 64 is a little less guided, just so you know. You have to kind of do all of that yourself. Find all the education, the municipal, the improvements. So I'll give you the answer. Ready? 64. I'm not ready. Give me 1 second here. 64 is supposed to be 6,083.66 if you get that right. And page 65, the answer to page 65 is 5,085.16. So 64 and 65, I think you can get at least one of them